Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Hope you've all had a good week. Now it's a packed program, so let's get straight to it. First up, there was an announcement from the developers that the Anvil Valkyrie would be able to carry some cargo. Now originally there was a little bit of controversy about the Valkyrie not being able to carry any cargo, but they've clarified it that from 3.6 onwards you'll be able to get a limited amount of cargo in the Valkyrie instead of a vehicle. So that's good news, so you can make use of the spacious interior of the Valkyrie for at least some cargo. Now in Inside Star Citizen this week we saw more on the upcoming procedurally generated variations of space stations and rest stops. Now going forward there's going to be a lot more variety in what you see from space stations and rest stops. Now for 3.6 onwards you'll see some variety of how they appear on the outside size wise and also in design. Now these are procedurally generated, and going forward you'll see a more variation of the interiors as we go through the year. So that's going to be really interesting to see, and I can't wait to see some of these newly redesigned procedurally generated stations and rest stops. Now we also saw more on the reworking of the Aegis Vanguard, which puts it more in line with the original concept which the community originally wanted to see. Now I clearly do remember when the Vanguard was first introduced, the controversy about how the ship actually looked in game compared to the original concept, and we're getting back to closer to that here with these glowing engine nacelles, which we'll only be able to tell what they're like in game, and these little missile launcher pods on the top of the ship. Now obviously we know that they've actually reintegrated the turret, which actually retracts into the hull, I believe, although I've not actually seen any video of that. And they've changed the back of the ship with these struts which actually attach here to the large engine nacelles. Because this Vanguard, it's quite a large ship really for this. It's a long distance fighter, and obviously there's variants like the hoplite as well. Now the actual wheels have been redesigned. The original concept actually had the two back wheels here with tank tracks. Now they've made the actual ramp to get into the ship a lot wider. I think this puts it in line with the hoplite, and of course the interior of the ship has also been enlarged. Now also this week we saw some work being done on the newly enhanced motion capture and abilities for the Bartender. So he'll be able to pour you a multitude of drinks and interact with you in a realistic bartender way. So you'll actually believe that you're in a real bar. Cheers. I've got to take the cap off first. Now there was a new show this week put out by the developers called Pillar Talk, where we saw 4 prominent developers including Chris Roberts himself, Tony Zurovic, Eric Kieran Davis and John Crew talk about some of the features coming up in 3.6 and some of the features which may not make it. Now it's always interesting to hear these guys talk about the game, and especially Tony Zurovic, who's really enthusiastic about the new first iteration of the lore system coming online in 3.6. Now this lore system will hopefully stop some of the misbehaviour by other players in the game. Obviously the AI will have to be robust enough to take care of them. Now there won't be the same punishments for serious offences like murder, for example, as obviously parking your ship wrongly on a landing pad, so that's good to hear. Obviously in the future they're talking about actually putting players in jail for persistent offences, but at the moment you should be able to pay off most offences with Alpha UEC. Don't know about what happens if you haven't got enough Alpha UEC. We'll have to wait and see. Very interesting to see how this works out. Obviously the law system does include the capability for you to sell illegally acquired goods, but it will only be at certain places like Grim Hex. You try and do that at some of the other legitimate locations, and again your actions will be flagged by law enforcement. Now on the ship front, what won't make it for 3.6 is the Banu Defender, because this is their first Banu ship. It just needs more time to be actually polished and brought up to the standard they want to achieve for the first Banu ship. The 890 jump will actually come in a later 3.6 patch, again because they want to actually furnish the interior with luxurious decor, so they want to actually make it the ultimate luxury ship. But the slight reworking of the Merlin and Archimedes will make it into 3.6, as will the major reworking which we talked about earlier of the Aegis Vanguard. So there will be some new ships in 3.6. And they also talked about that there could be some surprises coming up on the ship front through the year, a little bit like how the Anvil, Valkyrie and Arrow just appeared out of the blue and went straight into the game. Now a more polished version of FOIP and VoIP will make its appearance in 3.6 with the ability for the player to hail other ships. Now Chris Roberts talked about server-side OCS and server meshing, which they're actively working on. Obviously there's no time frame on this, but hopefully as soon as they can get it working, and that will enable obviously a lot more players into the game. And even Tony Zurovic said that that would make the law system more significant, as with what he said, thousands of players in the game. If you commit a criminal act, well, you could have potentially a lot more people hunting you down. Now we will also see a new system of how the shields work in 3.6 as well. And they also talked about continued change to the flight model, with the acceleration throttle coming back, and they're also aiming, of course, with the hover system coming in, to have a smooth landing of ships, so make it a lot more what you see in the movies. Now, always great to hear those top developers talking. Obviously any delays are a little bit disappointing, but understandable, because obviously we do know that a lot of the development time is on Squadron 42, and it is pretty difficult making two major games at once, but they'll get there in the end. It's just a matter of time. Well, thanks very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed this one, and hopefully I'll see you all very soon, direct from the verse.